seen the headlines this week regarding United States foreign policy? It appears that the same people, President Obama and his fellow Democrats, who decried President Bush and his illegal wars, are pretty much following lockstep with the previous administration. President Obama announced this week that the U.S. is boosting its military presence in the Persian Gulf and in Arab countries in the region, quote, to send a message to Iran. Meanwhile, the U.S. announced a $6.4 billion deal to send more arms to Taiwan. This all makes sense considering the president is asking the Congress for a whopping $708 billion defense budget for fiscal 2011. The bottom line is America's military might is expanding at an unprecedented rate, and it appears the Democrats and the Republicans finally are in agreement on something. Too bad the Constitution isn't. Joining me now is retired U.S. Air Force Lieutenant Colonel and one of my favorite guests, Karen Kwiatkowski, who writes on military issues with a libertarian perspective. Her latest article, what an intriguing title, Why I Am Excited About 2010, says Americans are fed up with war and debt, just to name a few, and will finally begin pushing back against an ever-expanding government. Lieutenant Colonel Karen, welcome back to Freedom Watch.
Well, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
What are you excited about in 2010? Is it the Scott Brown phenomenon, or is it the phenomenon of true constitutionalist libertarians who are running all across the country in Republican primaries that haven't yet been held?
Yeah, well, I think both. Scott Brown, of course, still represents, it's nice to see a switch in Massachusetts. It's nice to see change, but he really is an establishment Republican. But the guys like Rand Paul in Kentucky,
right.
These are the guys that I am excited about politically, but more than political excitement, because I've kind of become jaded, like many people, I guess, in expecting change through the political electoral process. Because, I mean, you were talking about Obama's huge military increases in his spending. I mean, certainly the people that voted for Obama, this is probably the last thing they expected him to do, but yet, indeed, he and the Republicans and the Democrats, the whole system moves increasingly towards militarism and you know, things we can't afford.
All right, now, you spent years in the Air Force. You retired as a lieutenant colonel, and you are a very astute analyst of the ways of the military today. So how does a guy who is so left-wing in his to his core, so anti-military in his votes in the Senate, preside over one of the biggest buildups of the military in modern times? Is it this idea that, well, if I'm a wartime president, I can get more power because war is the health of the state? What is it that could have him change his mind 180 degrees after just a year in office?
Yeah, well, I mean, they said similar things about Bill Clinton, and what we chalked it up to in the Clinton era, even though he cut numbers, that was military-led. He also gave in a great deal to the military and what they wanted. And so Clinton did that, and we said it was because he was outclassed, outmaneuvered, and fearful of the military establishment per se. Don't know if that was true. That's how we explained it with Clinton. Some of that could be the same with Obama. But also, if you think about Obama in terms of a jobs program, you know, he's pouring money into this massive defense establishment that lobbies quite effectively, that has the capability and capacity to create jobs and to employ the unemployable through enlistment.
We are chatting with Karen Kwiatkowski, former lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force and one of the best analysts of the ways of the military and our foreign affairs that we have today. So the president in a year has directed over 57 drones, unmanned drones, to attack human beings in Pakistan. That's more drones in a year than George Bush ever sent or sent in all 8 of his years. Question, how could one argue that this is a lawful thing to do, to send an unarmed missile with a computer that can guide it to kill a human being in a country that is an ally of ours, Pakistan?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think it's illegal both in an international sense and certainly in a constitutional sense back here. No doubt about it, but I think it demonstrates that it's not about Bush and Obama. It is about the military corporate establishment. This is the trend. The trend is to robotics. There's huge amounts of money being spent on that. It's fun for the military people. It is effective in terms of how they count effectiveness, which is not about political gains. Obviously, we lose political ground every time we kill innocent people, okay? And we lose, legal respect around the world when we do this. But from a military perspective, this is about a system, a technology. It works. We've got money down the pipeline. We're going to keep upgrading it. We're going to keep making it better. Lots of money put back into various districts. They'll lobby hard for it. The military lobbies hard for it. The corporate producers lobby hard for it. And Obama is just not withstanding that lobbying very well. I think the Obama supporters are probably appalled at this. But what Bush did and where Obama is continuing that same trajectory, it's the same thing. It's in response to something that's out of our control, really.
It is.
The military establishment is not something that's under the people's control at all. We have no idea what they do, and we got no influence over how they do it.
I could not agree with you more. And in fact, Karen, probably the vast majority of those drones weren't even sent by the military. They were probably sent by the CIA. So somebody is sitting in a control room in a basement in Langley, Virginia, directing the stuff. There's no military people on the ground.
Yeah, that's very, very disturbing, and it seems like that the CIA is, transforming itself, and we're not even debating it. A few people are complaining, but for the most part, we have no idea how the CIA has constructed itself in this post-9/11 world, and it looks like it's very dangerous, and it's dangerous for Americans.
Yes.
It's bad for Pakistanis, it's bad for Afghans, it's bad for our soldiers. But it's really bad for Americans.
Well, it's dangerous. It's dangerous for our freedoms.
Yes.
If a civilian intelligence agency can run its own war with a budget that we don't know about, killing people that we aren't even aware of, and on a scale as massive as 57 of these drones, and then you combine that with the president's people, he doesn't say it, but his people saying this week he believes in indefinite detention in Guantanamo Bay. He believes in incarcerating people even after they've been acquitted,
yes,
which is some power that no tyrant ever claimed until the Congress purported to give it to George Bush. He believes in the state secret doctrine. There's information that the government can have at trials that the defendant can't have. Has there been any change at all with the election of Barack Obama from the unconstitutional ways of George W. Bush?
In fact, I think Obama has probably accelerated in the bad directions that Bush was taking us as far as, ignoring rule of law and basically becoming a tyrant. And it would take a guy that's very eloquent like Obama, a guy who's very nice-looking, has a nice family, we like him, we want to like him. It would take that kind of a guy to become the tyrant that this country would accept, which apparently he's becoming, but that's all depressing. I actually think people are waking up to this.
All right.
So that's the positive part.
We started this conversation on a happy note, and we'll end it on a happy note, and that is there's a fire in the belly of millions of people who have had enough with what the federal government is doing, and they have many, many opportunities to manifest that fire in the various primary elections and hopefully in the general election coming this fall. Karen Kwiatkowski, it's a pleasure. I love reading you on LouRockwell.com. Thanks for joining us on Freedom Watch.
Thank you very much.
You can catch today's show on foxnews.com/Freedom Watch and on Sirius 145 XM 168 or online at foxnewstalk.com on 6 p.m. at 6 p.m. Eastern on Saturdays. From New York, defending freedom. Until the next time, stay free, America.